Hello and welcome to Budget Wa, where we discuss how to make the most of your money in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Today we'll be discussing how the new Vanguard Nurgle set compares to its predecessors. So as you may know, Games Workshop is currently in the process of releasing new starter boxes for every army in Age of Sigmar. These Vanguard boxes are marketed as a starter army in a box, similar to what they're doing in 40k with the new combat patrol sets. Of course, this means we're slowly losing the old Start Collecting line. In this video, we'll be discussing how the Vanguard Maggotkin of Nurgle box stacks up compared to both of the old Start Collecting Demons and Mortals of Nurgle. We'll compare the value of these sets both in terms of value for money, as well as what you get on the table, and discuss the overall pros and cons of the new Vanguard box as a whole. So what do you get in the Vanguard Maggotkin of Nurgle box? To start, you get a Spoilpox Scrivener. I was really happy to see they added him to the Vanguard set. This is a great little hero. In the 3rd edition, he has some great synergies with your Plague Bearers. He can grant them extra attacks. He can grant them extra defense. Just a good hero to have. He's a summonable unit, which is useful with Nurgle, of course. You also get the option to build a second hero, a Lord of Afflictions, which is another really powerful unit in the latest battle tome for Nurgle. Because he overcomes one of Nurgle's biggest weaknesses, Nurgle is very slow. However, the Lord of Affliction allows you to deep strike him and 2 friends, and the friends can either be Puscoil Blight Lords, Plague Drones. You can take one of each or 2 of either, and drop them within 9 inches of an enemy unit anywhere on the board at the end of your movement phase. So that's a really powerful ability for Nurgle, and a good reason to consider building one of these if you do pick up this set. Alternatively, of course, you can build it as Puscoil Blight Lords. Problem is these come in a minimum unit size of 2, so if you do build the Lord of Afflictions, you're going to have to find another Puscoil Blight Lord somewhere, or you might just be stuck with this awkward extra one, which is kind of a bummer. I was hoping they might make it more similar to the Stormcast Dragons, where if you took the Lord of Afflictions, you'd be allowed to bring a single Puscoil Blight Lord, but that was not the case in the latest Battle Tome. Then, of course, you get a unit of 10 Plague Bearers. This is your bread and butter battle line unit for Nurgle. And you also get Putrid Blight Kings, which is the other battle line option for all Nurgle sub-factions. And these are just some fantastic sculpts. I think some of the best in the whole line as far as aesthetics are concerned. And they're very fighty on the table, much more fightier than your average Nurgle unit, with pumping out quite a number of attacks, and they have quite a number of wounds to boot. Just a fun unit. Brings us up to a total of 730 or 740 points, depending on whether you build a Lord of Affliction or Puscoil Blight Lords, and that's just shy of the 750 threshold for Vanguard-sized games. This will retail at $130 if you pick it up from GW, or $110 if you're able to find it discounted either at a local game store or through other online retailers. So how does it compare to the old Start Collecting sets? The first Start Collecting set we'll describe as the Demons of Nurgle. This comes with a Puckspringer, Herald of Nurgle, which is a wizard for 145 points. You get 10 Plague Bearers again in this set, as well as 3 Nurglings, which are kind of a fun unit to sit on objectives, hold up your opponent, and they're quite cheap to summon. And then you get a unit of 3 Plague Drones as well for 200 points. This brings this box set up to a total of 600 points in the latest edition of the game, and back when it was available it retailed for $95. However, it is now out of print at the time of this recording. You can find them from some online retailers for anywhere between $100 to $150. This may or may not continue to go up in the future, but unfortunately I was not able to find them anywhere for retail price. However, if you go to your local game store, they may still have some of these in stock, and that would be my biggest recommendation, is to check out your local stores to see if you can pick one of these up if you want it. And lastly, we have the Start Collecting Maggotkin of Nurgle. Just a note on the name, Maggotkin of Nurgle now refers to the whole army. Back in 2nd edition, and I think even more so in 1st edition, it was more of the mortals, which is what you see here. The older editions pushed you a little bit more to focus on either demons or mortals, whereas the third edition battle tome, from at least my read of it, there's more incentive to kind of mix and match. But anyway, what you get in this box, you get a Lord of Blights for 150 points. He has a thematic ability where he can hand out heads to the putrid Blight Kings, and then they can toss them. It's kind of too short of a range to be very compelling, in my opinion, and not the most compelling hero in the battle tome right now. You get, again, either a Lord of Afflictions or two Pasquale Blight Lords, depending on how you choose to build it, and then a unit of Putrid Blight Kings again in this box. So the total's at 600 to 610 points. Again, it retailed at 95. Currently, they seem to be going for about $100 to $125 from online retailers. So if we compare the sets side by side, you can see that looking at the units you receive in each box, they essentially smashed the two older boxes into one larger set. Here I've highlighted in bold what they've carried over from the old Start Collecting boxes. You can see in the Vanguard box, everything except the Spoilpox Scrivener was in one of the old Start Collecting boxes. Most of it from the Maggotkin of Nurgle box. Nice to see they threw the Plague Bearers in that. And the Spoilpox Scrivener, I think, is the biggest positive change compared to the old boxes, at least for this edition. Compared to the Poxbringer or the Lord of Blights, he's much more useful on the table, at least in my opinion, and has some nice synergies with the Plague Bearer units. Now, if you compare the pricing on each of these boxes, I've put the MSRP from GW of each unit in parentheses for you to peruse. But if you look at the Vanguard box on the left, it retails at $130. But represents $203 worth of value if you're strictly going off of MSRP retail price from GW, and represents about a 36% savings, which is pretty standard for the Vanguard and Combat Patrol boxes they've been putting out for Age of Sigmar and 40K respectively. Compare this in today's money, mind you, to the Start Collecting Demons of Nurgle, retailed at $95, is $165 value currently, representing about a 42% savings if you're able to get your hands on one for a reasonable price. Similarly, the Start Collecting Maggotkin of Nurgle, $95 retail for $162 value, representing about a 41% savings. So a little bit less overall savings and a higher overall cost on the new Vanguard set. Lastly, as a bonus, I wanted to comment on the Broken Realms and Vidian Plague Host. Obviously, the War Scroll Battalion was obsolete shortly after they released this box because of 3rd edition, but the units inside are still quite useful. You get a Spoilpox Scrivener, a Sloppity Biopiper, which is another very fun sculpt, a fun model on the table. He plays songs for your jolly boys, and 2 units of Plague Bearers, so 20 total. It's retailed at $90, $146 value if you add up the individual units, so 38% savings. Kind of hard to find right now, but if you can pick one up, comes with some useful models. So lastly, I just wanted to talk about Vanguard in general and the overall pros and cons of the Vanguard Maggotkin of Nurgle box. So to start with the positives, I think you get some solid units from both the old boxes. Really, if you look at it, I think that they gave you the best units from the 2 old boxes in many ways. Now, you do lose the Plague Drones. You're not getting the Nurglings, which are the 2 that, I would kind of miss. But the 2 heroes compared to the Spoilpox Scrivener, the Spoilpox Scrivener is a useful utility piece to buff up your Plague Bearers, which you'll be getting a lot of if you buy multiples of this box. Another thing I'd like to comment on is that this is actually a playable Vanguard force if you wanted to play a Vanguard-sized game. You'll probably be looking to expand pretty shortly after, but a good place to start. It actually gets you to that 50 points just about. And you've got 2 heroes in the box, a good array of units, and some battle line options, which is great. It gives you a good mix of the demons and mortals versus splitting that into 2 boxes. And you could argue that it's about the same price as the old Start Collecting box if you account for inflation. Start Collecting boxes in 2018 were at $95. If you account for inflation to 2022, that comes to about $110 in today's money. Now, granted, you can still find the Start Collecting boxes for $95 if you are lucky, but 110 is the cost of this if you get it from a discounted retailer, so something to consider. The cons of the box is there's less flexibility. It was nice having 2 Start Collecting boxes for 1 army because you could kind of pick and choose which models you wanted, or possibly get savings on both if you desired. Lower savings overall in terms of total value for money. No Nurglings, I think, is kind of a bummer. Nurglings are a cheap summon. They have a lot of utility on the table potentially. Also, the higher cost of entry kind of bums me out with the Vanguard boxes. I think $95 for a Start Collecting box was already a steep ask for somebody brand new to the hobby. $130 for the Vanguard style box is even more, and that's quite a bit of cash for somebody who's brand new to the hobby, or really anybody. I mean, you're getting a lot of savings, but it's even more you're having to spend to get the savings. And then lastly, I think this box would have been fantastic value if they had just thrown a Feculent Gnarlmaw in there. It's the Nurgle terrain piece. You get them for free, so you're essentially, putting yourself at a disadvantage if you don't run them. And they do a lot of cool things for the army. And for a starter set, it would be nice to see GW include the terrain pieces in some of these starter army boxes. I don't think they're ever going to do it. They charge like $45 for the Feculent Gnarlmaw. You probably are going to want multiples because you can summon more to the table, which is really kind of absurd for a single little creepy looking tree. Would have been nice to see it in the box. Would have made it insane value. I would have said go buy multiple. You could easily buy 3, and then you'd have a solid starting army. But alas, they did not choose to do that. So anyway, if I had to rate the Vanguard Nurgle set overall, I'd give it a B+. It's got a good spread of units, some great sculpts. It actually kind of comes through on its promise to give you a Vanguard-sized army, unlike some other Vanguard boxes, although you'll likely soon want to expand. It certainly shines in comparison to some other Vanguard sets we've seen recently, but from a pure value for money perspective, falls a little bit short in terms of the savings and flexibility of the older Start Collecting sets. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, feel free to leave me a comment or consider giving the video a like. If you want to see more Value Hammer videos like this one, consider subscribing to my channel. Anyway, thanks so much and have a great rest of your day. Peace.